Star Wars AHSOKA Episodes 1 and 2 debuted just last week on Disney+, and there's been a lot of mixed reviews lately among fans. And I know Rotten Tomatoes is not the best site to go by, but it roughly gives you an idea of exactly where a show or a movie stands, and for the audience score, it was in the high 90s, and now it has suddenly dropped down to 81% and dropping every single 5 to 6 hours, give or take. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Revolving around Dave Filoni and his overall structure of the AHSOKA show and what he had to say that's quite alarming about this show. Now, I've really put out my opinions on episodes 1 and 2 just the other day, and I will say again, I'm not all that impressed. Let me be very clear here. I'm not all that impressed with the writing, with the acting, and with the direction of the first 2 episodes. Now, the visuals so far have been pretty solid, but apart from that, I'm just really not enjoying the show from start to finish, as of right now. If there's a payoff, fine, but there's a lot of plot holes, a lot of bad acting in my opinion, and very low-level writing, but let's get into exactly what Dave Filoni had to say about the AHSOKA Tano series that I think is very alarming to the overall structure of the show and Dave Filoni's true intentions. Now, before I get to this, Goodfellow1379 actually put this on my Twitter, and he told me to bring it open out and about to you guys out there. And he says, Mike, I advise to tell all of your viewers and your audience about a video by Jar Jar Abrams called Dave Filoni Shaming Star Wars Fans for Not Liking Mary Sue. Have them go ahead and check it out. It is an interview or a presentation from 2016. Alright, so that's like before The Last Jedi, and it shows Dave Filoni's true colors, apparently, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll try to link that below in the description, but let's move onwards here about what Dave Filoni had to say. Now, with Disney and Lucasfilm endlessly struggling with Star Wars and course-correcting the franchise, however, recently Dave Filoni admitted an alarming truth about the direction of the AHSOKA series by delivering the following. With AHSOKA, we felt it was finally time to embrace an all-female-led show, and going into that, we could just imagine all the fans were used to male-led roles, saying, oh my god, the tragedy, another female-focused Star Wars story. We could just see the fans saying that, after seeing the millions of roles led by males. So it was my idea to go back to Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire and that trilogy of books that Tim and George looked over throughout the 90s. I wanted to do a complete retelling of that by focusing on Ahsoka becoming the role of Luke. We are beginning a new age, and a new war is coming, and there is so much to tell. I wanted to take elements from the films by J.J. Abrams and Legends and find a way to throw them all into one. This is why we have a map to Thrawn, much like the map to Skywalker. I always loved puzzle solving. I always loved that idea from JJ, and mystery boxes. This is not Luke's story anymore. We wanted to make it Ahsoka's this time around, and I had this great opportunity to take so many elements from Heir to the Empire and craft something new, and what it teases for my upcoming Star Wars movie that I will be directing. Now, let me just stop here, guys, for 1 second. Now, I don't know about you, but Dave Filoni, either his attitude has changed, or he has really been masking himself for the past 4 to 5 years about being so loyal to Jon Favreau and George Lucas's vision of Star Wars. I don't know, but it is an interesting thing between this and that resurfaced presentation of Dave Filoni back in 2016 about shaming Star Wars fans for not liking Mary Sue's. I really do advise that you guys go ahead and check out that overall presentation again. I will actually drop the title of that video several times throughout this video. But what's interesting about this overall structure in Dave Filoni's mind is exactly what Kathy Kennedy dropped the other day. Is that basically what the AHSOKA series is? It is 100% intentional. It is deliberate to retell the events of the Thrawn trilogy in pieces in the Ahsoka series and for Dave Filoni's up-and-coming movie for 2026 or 2027 that's going to basically swap the roles of Luke and Ahsoka, where Ahsoka is going to basically be the new Luke Skywalker from this point on forward. And the biggest problem that I have with that is, why would you have introduced Luke to begin with in the Book of Boba Fett, you must ask? Well, I feel that a lot of that was driven from the fact that Luke appeared in Mando Season 2, and so they felt, why not elaborate on that and kind of expand that in the Book of Boba Fett to drive up fan interest, because they saw the success that it had with Mando Season 2, and then they introduced him back in the Book of Boba. And look, at the end of the day, I think that where Dave Filoni is going here is that he is beginning to either A, show his true colors, or B, he was putting up a front all this time. I'm really confused about what's really going on here with Ahsoka. And he openly admits here that he was looking up the J.J. Abrams and his mystery boxes. This is why we have a map to Thrawn, just like the map to Skywalker. And again, like I mentioned yesterday, why does this map exist? We don't know. We have no clue. You know, there's no answers to that. Are we going to get an answer as to why this map even exists to Thrawn? Who knows? Disney doesn't have the best track record, right? So, look, this is another thing. Ahsoka is basically like Kathy, he says. He said, of course, and went on to elaborate further, the new Luke Skywalker of our time. And the way to justify that is she is Anakin's Padawan, so it works perfectly in this sense, Dave says. John wanted to get in on this as a co-writer, but Kathy and I felt it would be best to really just drive it mainly by one man's vision, and that really pushed me beyond my limits. I could have just adapted the Thrawn trilogy, but that I feel would have been lazy writing. No, you need something very new and inspire from the old, so I think fans will notice that everything that Ahsoka does in this story is going to mirror what Luke does in the Thrawn trilogy books. It's quite brilliant, actually. Now, look, I know that Dave Filoni, Ahsoka is his baby, just like George Lucas's Star Wars in general is his baby. But when you look at Dave Filoni, his invention, his overall creation in his mind is the character Ahsoka. That's his. And so, I think that he might very well be going way too overboard with focusing on Ahsoka taking over the role of Luke. Now, look, guys, if you want to focus on Ahsoka, fine. If you want to tell a story about her, that's okay. But this overall plan that's so deliberate and admitted now, by literally erasing Luke's story and swapping it with Ahsoka, that's where I begin to have a big problem. And the fact that it's viewed as lazy writing by just adapting Heir to the Empire beat by beat and in a very accurate way, I don't agree with that. I don't know where in the world that would be considered lazy writing. Look at Lord of the Rings. It's an adaptation. Harry Potter, it's an adaptation. I don't see an issue with it. So, anyway, guys, I would love your views on Ahsoka, all respect. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.